The day is finally here as we've received some positive news about the potential return of Joel Embiid and why it may be sooner rather than later. No, we don't have a concrete date just yet, and no, this is not some sick April Fool's Day joke, but we do have this report from Shams Charania saying that the 76ers star Joel Embiid is nearing a comeback as soon as Tuesday's home game versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, sources tell The Athletic and Stadium. The reigning NBA MVP has positively completed multiple 5-on-5 scrimmage sessions in recent days. So that's especially positive to me, the fact that he is going through full contact workouts 5-on-5. I know there was a little bit of video circulating on social media showing Embiid going up against Paul Reed and his other teammates, and he looked like himself. Now, I'm not going to read too much into a minute and a half of footage that leaked out on the internet, but the fact that he's moving like the Joel Embiid that we hope to me is an incredibly positive thing. And Shams elaborated a little bit more on this on the full report, in which he commented that Embiid and the 76ers are still working to finalize his return date, but it is believed to be any day now. The reigning NBA MVP has completed multiple 5-on-5 scrimmages at practice in recent days, league sources said. The 76ers have 7 games left in the regular season, including 4 this week: Tuesday against the Thunder, Thursday in Miami, Saturday in Memphis, and Sunday in San Antonio. 76ers coach Nick Nurse said last week that the team was optimistic about Embiid returning to action before the regular season ends. Embiid was in the midst of a historic season before his absence, averaging 35.3 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 5.7 assists in 34 games. So a lot to break down from there. I want to start with, I don't want it to be overlooked how special of a season Joel Embiid was having before he got injured. And that level of ability is a bit unrealistic to expect him to be back at by day one, but it still proves the top-end impact that he can make on this team. And it should not be any sort of hot take that when you add the reigning NBA MVP to a team, he's going to make that team better. Now, the other part that I thought was especially notable here is kind of the conversation about how this is a collaborative effort between Joel Embiid and the Sixers. That, as it mentions here, Embiid and the 76ers are still working to finalize his return date, but it's believed to be any day now. I saw another reporting out saying that the Sixers essentially expect Joel one day to walk in and be like, today's the day, I'm good to go, and here's the green light. And I think that very well may be tomorrow against the Thunder. And I'm just going to interject here that while in the process of recording this on the first take, that it has officially been announced that Joel Embiid will be out for Tuesday's game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So pump the brakes a little bit on my excitement here, but overall my still message stands that I do think that this guy is coming back soon and going to be a huge lift to the Sixers team. So back to the regular scheduled rant, but sorry for the poor timing here. And it is interesting that the way this has been handled as a whole. I know I personally have been frustrated, and I think a number of others share my frustration with the lack of transparency that the Sixers have brought on throughout this recovery process, that it has not been as by the books and by the timeline, just in the public eyes, as it is in a lot of cases with the recovery process. But I do believe that a lot of that comes from Joel's side of things, and you do have to respect a guy wanting to keep his privacy. But just to note exactly what this timeline looks with, and why I do think it's important to note that this is not the Sixers rushing Joel Embiid, this is the normal healing trajectory. So to pull this up here, the date of the surgery was on February 6th. That 6 weeks out, March 19th, it's expected to be a 6 to 8 week recovery, and 8 weeks out being that April 2nd date. So tomorrow will be exactly 8 weeks since he did get the surgery and begin the recovery process, and that's exactly what should be right for a guy of his caliber, of his ability. And by the way, even when we do attach these injury-prone narratives or concern over some of the issues that have occurred throughout Joel Embiid's career, it still can't be overlooked that this guy is a high-level elite athlete that is used to his body going through some pretty crazy stuff. So it shouldn't be a surprise that he is back on the court and ready to perform. And obviously, what level we'll be able to see him at will make a massive difference in the perception from here. If he still looks like he's favoring that knee a little bit, it's obviously the wrong decision for him to be back on the floor already. But there's nothing that we've seen or heard to lead us to believe that is the case. That if he is ready, if he is healthy, there is zero reason not for him to return to the floor. And it absolutely changes the ceiling and the direction of the Sixers team. I know I've seen a lot of pessimism of why does it even matter? There's just going to be another second-round exit anyway, and all those kind of conversations. And I don't want it to get lost how good this Sixers team looked at the start of the season with Joel Embiid. And to dive in that specifically, 26-8 in the season in games that Joel Embiid has played. Now, we kind of overlook the fact that they are 14-27 in the matchups that Embiid did not. But Embiid more so than really any other player on any other team, and this is why I pound the table so hard in the most valuable player conversation, that when you take him off, the identity is just drastically different. Even in a guy like Nikola Jokic on the Nuggets. Don't want to slander him or talk about him not being important to any extent, but it does shift the way they play, and it's not as reliant on playing the same style of basketball. When you look at the Sixers team, it feels like they just play a worse brand of basketball without the MVP. There isn't as much change. There aren't guys that are able to step up and play off him, and so much of the Sixers' bread and butter of the offense is built around the gravity that Joel Embiid commands, playing through him in the post, challenging teams to either make the decision between guarding him one-on-one, and he's going to score in that situation, or double down and force the others to beat you. And that's where the three-point shooters come in. Guys like Tyrese Maxey, and even some of the new additions. This is where Buddy Hield is going to come in, particularly important to this team. But again, holding this specific record of 26-8 on the season with Joel Embiid, if you are to take that winning percentage and carry it out through the length of the season, that's good enough to put the Sixers at second place in the Eastern Conference right now. And I know that's not entirely fair to do, that there was a little bit easier stretch of the schedule at the beginning of the season compared to the ringer that the Sixers have gone through over the past couple weeks, but the principle should still stand that they were a very good basketball team when Joel Embiid was on the floor. Now, you have to make do with what the current situation is. So to take a look at the standings as a whole, the Sixers are currently in that 8 seed. They are 2 games back from the Pacers for that 6 seed. You can see the Miami Heat holding a game-and-a-half lead for that number 7 seed. And what I think is especially important to note is when looking at the schedule, on Thursday against the Miami Heat at 7:30, that is going to be an incredibly important matchup when it comes to these standings and how things shake out. So to look at those again, once again, the Heat holding a game-and-a-half lead for that 7 seed. The Pacers, an additional half game up on top of that, and the Sixers as a whole 18.5 back from first place where the Boston Celtics sit. But one thing that does give me a little bit of optimism, it is the pathway from here for the playoff return, or until they get to the playoffs and play in. Then when you're looking at the schedule, obviously the OKC Thunder tomorrow, that is a no-joke matchup. The Thunder are the truth, a real deal Western Conference contender. Then it is the matchup against the Miami Heat on Thursday, will be a massive games in terms of standings implication there. But then they travel out to face the Memphis Grizzlies, who are a straight-up bad basketball team. The San Antonio Spurs, who are young and are struggling, are kind of at the end point of the season. The Detroit Pistons, another poor, young, struggling basketball team. The Orlando Magic have played some really good ball, particularly over the second half of the season, but they're not a team that's unbeatable by any means. If the Sixers play their best basketball, especially with Joel Embiid on the floor, they absolutely can beat that team. And then the Brooklyn Nets are a team that has been hovering over the disaster button all year, have not played some cohesive team basketball really for any extended period of time. That's another game that the Sixers should absolutely win. So when looking at how the rest of the season can shape out, there is an opportunity for the Sixers to pick up some momentum, play their best basketball, string some win together, and be on the right path heading into the playoffs. It's not ideal the way they've got here. Obviously, the injuries are a hurdle that they have to clear, but the pathway is now there. Find a way for this Sixers team to get back on the same page. That more so than just those results or seeing where you land in the playoffs or in the play-in or wherever in the standings that things conclude. The bottom line is if the Sixers are playing to the peak of their ability, they're going to be a problem for any team that they do face. And to kind of project forward and take a bit of a look at the playoff seeding race, who they could potentially match up, I will be going a little bit more in depth with this, probably in about 4 or 5 games from now when it's really starting to shore up what those matchups are looking like. But as things stand today, that the Sixers look pretty set to fall into that playing category. So then a matchup against the Heat to decide who is that 7 seed, who is that 8 seed. By the way, I don't think the Celtics should be eager to face either one of these teams. But let's say that the Sixers do win, they get that 7 seed, and they play the Milwaukee Bucks first round. I'm feeling okay about that matchup. That we know the Doc Rivers factor that is in full effect here. The Milwaukee Bucks, it's been an interesting year. Their record's been far worse under Doc Rivers than it was with Adrian Griffin, even if you do want to argue that they have made some progress in terms of the defensive end. I think, frankly, from an actual chance to win standpoint, they have looked better than they did in the early beginnings of the season, even if the record does not show as so. But I still have questions if this version of Damian Lillard is able to carry this team on a playoff run, if that the pieces do fit together in a way they feel. And once again, I will throw more fire on the Doc Rivers conversation, that he's just not a guy that's going to carry your team to winning. But maybe these Sixers get additionally hot. Maybe they win out, go 7-0. What if? Who says no? They climb to that 6 seed, and they're facing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 3-6 matchup. Feed me the Cavaliers. This is the same Cavs team that the Sixers have beat twice without Joel Embiid. And I believe Tyrese Maxey didn't play in one of those games either. The Cavs are the team I've been pounding the table all year that I do believe are frauds. And frankly, I think the Sixers team could beat that Cleveland team with or without Joel Embiid. And with the MVP in the lineup, absolutely. So we're talking about getting past a round right there. And even when you look all the way down the East, that the Celtics are absolutely looking like the top team, that they have been running away, cream of the crop all season, but they are a team that have come up small in big moments in the past couple of years, that they're so jump shot dependent, so dependent on their perimeter three-point barrage of attack, that when that's not falling, they have some issues as a team. There's been moments this year down the crunch time in the final 2 minutes where their offense has kind of stalled out in a way that is absolutely concerning to me. So yes, they look great, but I don't think that they're impenetrable, that they're not a team that is unbeatable. This is not the prime Golden State Warriors or the 83 Bulls. This is not a team that you should not be fully fearing heading into. And beyond that, the Knicks have had their share of injury issues. We still don't know what the deal is with Julius Randle, with OG Anunoby. And yes, it's Jalen Brunson's team, and he is the guy that is the cold-blooded killer for them, but they're still missing something, and particularly being OG, a guy that they went all in as the difference maker this year. The Orlando Magic, I mentioned them again. They're a talented, really good, really solid basketball team, but they're young, and I really don't love the way that roster fully fits together. I think they need more shooting. I think they need to find a way to space the floor a little better, and it's something that this is going to be a couple-year progress until the Magic hit their peak as a team. The Pacers have cooled off drastically since the start of the year. The point being that none of these teams are perfect. And while the Sixers aren't either, they have a puncher's chance now that Joel Embiid has returned. So let's keep spreading some positivity. Hope that he is at his best when he does step back on the floor. I know there will be plenty of magnifying watch over every movement that he has. But the bottom line is this is a guy that changes the complete ceiling and floor of the Sixers team, and they should be considered right back in that contending conversation. So buy your stock now because it's not getting any cheaper from here on out. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in this video. I'm excited for this final push for the Sixers season. I believe that the playoff race is back on, and my energy is all the way through the roof for that. So let me know if you're feeling the same way, if you think I'm overreacting this, and everything else that you got on your mind. Appreciate you guys for watching once again. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like, and I'll talk with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.